So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and depending whether you're watching this live or whether you are on catch up or replays via the community. Welcome to this session. This is going to be a really interesting interview with a member of the leadership team in transformation, and it's entitled Transylvania to Transformation, but more on that in a second. This is obviously part of the GENCFO Summit delivered in partnership with the ACCA. Now, we're super pleased to be bringing so many innovators, transformers, experts, people with very practical knowledge that can really help us deliver what we're calling the disruption, but bringing fresh content, big ideas, and directing the disruption. None of this would be possible without our supporters. So very, very big thank you to the ACCA, Cooper, Sage, Soldo, Kanos, and Fluence. Now, as you know, we've been having a little bit of fun with the chat. I'm really starting to run out of questions, but I do have one. So do react. Do make sure you give your thumbs up and your love for all of the things that we're talking about. And make sure that you use the chat. And just to test that you've got the chat going, I've got my bottom of the barrel question. If you had to be one, would you rather be itchy or sticky? As you can tell, we're getting to the end of these, but itchy or sticky, I think that's a very tricky one to decide. But just a reminder, this is being recorded, so if you want to go back and listen to this, or if you want to share it, then go to the community platform where all of the recordings will be for our pro members and exec members. And if there are questions that we don't get to, then we will make sure that those questions are put onto the community. So another reason to go over there and wade in on those. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce a leader in transformation, Yoana Land, who is CFO transformation North America for L'Oreal. Here very much talking about her own career journey, and welcome, Yoana.
Thank you, Chris, and I'm so happy to be here. And hello to everyone, wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday.
Thank you, and yours has only started, so
Correct.
we've been here for a while in Europe. But look, this is sort of more of a career conversation and a sort of personal journey conversation, and I was fascinated by your journey, Transylvania to transformation, as we framed it. Tell us a little bit about Romania back in the day and the decision to leave Romania, and what it is like as a sort of place to learn about tech and transformation.
Oh, wow, what a great question. So, Romania is a country that has a very, very strong educational system. And that's why it's probably the mecca of technology. And it's actually a place where the big universities like Harvard and Stanford really go recruit the brightest minds. And Romania makes it easy for them because from the moment you go to school, you have a lot of competitions for each subject. So, for example, for mathematics, you may go and compete first at the school level, then at the city level, then at the district level, and then country level. So, large universities go and pick top students, then make it into what we call Olympics, for example, Olympics for mathematics, and recruit those kids directly into the school and gives them really good scholarships. Back in the day when I was there, I actually made it to the Olympics for mathematics at the country level. But at that time, the universities in the US did not figure that trick out. So I made my way to the US, by just applying from there, trying to get scholarships and grants. And, it was not easy because it's still a visa system and they are giving very few visas. So not giving up on the dream and fighting really hard and then a little bit of luck, it's what
Yeah.
made it happen.
Yeah, and I can testify for, Romania being a hotbed of talent. I worked in Bucharest for a while, and there's a fantastic technology university right beside where there's a big shared service for an enterprise I worked for, and yeah, I was really blown away by the local talent. But it seems to be sort of leaving the country and going all around the world. Um, but before we get in terms of sort of location and things like that, you started out in IT, right?
Mhm.
And then transitioned. So what was your sort of early career path and why the shift from IT to finance?
hmm So I came to the US and literally, if you ask me Romania, I would have said I wanted to be a doctor. But when I came here, I realized, I don't have the money. I had $800 in my pocket,
Wow.
and I could not, support myself through business, through medical school, which was 8 years in total. So I thought, what can I study? And I had a mathematical mind and technology at that time, and even today, it was, the field to go, especially if you want to have a job the moment you graduate and a really well paid job. And that came with a green card as well. So it just made total sense for me. Um, and I worked at PepsiCo for 6 years and absolutely loved it. I was at that time in a team of like 40 men, and
Wow.
I actually had very preferential treatment as being, the only girl in the team. They treated me like their little sister. They taught me everything, carried the servers for me many times because I could not pick it up off the floor. But I really enjoyed it. And after 6 years, I thought I was working a lot with the business, especially in implementing business intelligence tools. And for people that are on the call and don't know what that is, it's pretty much like the BI tools that we have today. And with those tools, you're asking a lot of business questions. What should we sell? Where? How? And I actually realized how much I love the business side, and going to get an MBA was the easiest transition into the business from any field.
Wow. Amazing. I've got to go back to that 40-man team that you were part of. Um, being a woman in IT,
Mhm.
even now is kind of celebrated. And everyone's sort of trying to get a level playing field in all industries, and STEM is included in that. But what was it like back then, being a woman in IT? Because you were, one of the few, right?
Right, right. So I think any field where we try to break the ceiling as women, it's pretty tough. And looking at my background, I chose IT, then finance, all male-dominated careers. So at one point, through my psychology degree, I'm going to figure out why, but that's a different conversation. Um, it's a double-edged sword because it could be super celebrated, such as we want to have diversity, we are going to include women, but it also it's a tough world to go into because, as I mentioned, right at the end of the day, I don't have the capability to at the time pick up servers, and it could be like, well, why do we do her job? But I was also one of the two women in the classes, most of the classes where we had like heavy coding. And so it was overall a male dominated, degree and then profession. And I don't think it's easy. I think it all depends on the company, the culture, and the team that you are in. And you can have a multitude of experiences.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to come back to that psychology education in a bit because this is a leadership interview after all. But just talking specifically about sort of transformation, digital transformation, you've probably got quite a unique perspective on this going from IT into finance and the business side of things. Why are you so passionate about transformation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when you're talking, I was thinking like you're going to go like, where we are today. But I think this is actually the great segue in why transformation, digital transformation. Because if you look at back into the history, I think the last 200 years have done more transformation for humanity than the last 2000 years. And just a quick, going through the timeline, um, agrarian revolution was first and started probably mid 1700s, and that's when you have horse-drawn mowers and steel plowers. But then around 1900 we went to industrial revolution, and then we have the steam power, the revolutionized transformation with trains, factories, mass production, urban areas that started popping up. And then we went into technology revolution, which was about till about the 2000s. So at that time I was still in school, but that was, when we had the early introduction of radio, TV, the first part of the, what looked like the internet started around 1970s, personal computers that came up in 1980. So transformation, it's such an exciting field, right? And today we are going into the digital transformation, exactly what you said. So for me, it's all about being able to still enjoy this wave of transformation that the humanity experienced in the past 200 years, being at the forefront of it, and taking advantage for the rest of my life, because I'm so envious of the next generation, because I think they will see even more. But being able to take advantage of the ways of learning, connecting, living, and experiencing the world through this new digital AI transformation that we are seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, we're peas in a pod. I'm as excited about it as you are, and I think that's almost like that pioneer journey, looking back in history. It is one to sort of inspire everyone, right? There's so much change that can happen. There's so much innovation happening all the time, and you've got to look
Yes.
forward and to the horizon and sort of imagine what the future's like. Um, and I noticed in some of the research that I did that your move to Romania was a bit like that. You were like seeing America through
Yes.
new movies, right? And you
Yes.
imagined what the future could be like for you. Tell us a bit more about that.
Hmm. Um, so growing up in Romania, early life was the worst part of communism. And if you look at all the communism countries, they started with great ideology, but then slowly that deteriorated in, the most or the worst part of that ideology. So when the revolution happened in Romania, there was such a wave of excitement that finally we are going to embrace and see and imagine what the West already was living, but there was no TV in Romania, so we had no idea what that meant. And I joke about the fact that we wanted to be a democratic country, but we had no idea what democracy is, and we did not even have the word democracy in our dictionary for the past 45 years.
Wow.
So while the ideology was there, it took probably 20 years to be implemented. And finally, we got TV. We had TVs, but the TV was all about how great Romania and communism is. So now we have the Western movies coming in and documentaries, and I realize what a different world is out there. And also in the first few years of democracy, I thought, wow, this is not going to happen in my lifetime. I was wrong about that. Romania is a great place to be today. But because of that, I thought I want to go and live, in a system that appreciates meritocracy, capital markets, real freedom of speech. And that was my dream, and I was fairly young. I mean, the Romanian Revolution happened when I was probably 6 or 7. So you can imagine by age of 10, I knew I was going to leave Romania.
Oh, well, so you're walking the talk, right? You can see the future and you're walking towards it, from Romania to the US. And then you land a number of, no pun intended with the land, but you land some great jobs great jobs. Just what happened post, that first job in IT? What was the first
Mhm.
finance role?
Yeah. Um, so just to say landed, it's a really good word, but honestly behind it, it's, and everyone can imagine, just a ton of work. And I have a team today that I mentor, and people want to go different places, and I'm just going to say it because it's a leadership interview. There is no substitute to hard work. Like moving through the industries, moving through jobs, you can make it all happen. You just have to keep at it. You have to push hard, and you have to really, really want it. So I realized I have to go to business school, get my MBA, and I started, taking all the tests and writing or getting recommendation letters, including the CIO at that time of PepsiCo, and I applied to many schools. I wanted to go to Stanford. That was my dream. I ended up at Duke University because I got a scholarship. So that was an amazing, opportunity. A great school, still top 10. And then I said I want to learn the business, and the best way to describe it, I met the CFO of American Airlines, and she was from Russia, a petite woman among a board of just men, and she was dressed up like that, but definitely stood out with her attitude and demeanor and personality. And I thought, I want to be like her one day, and that's how I ended up in finance.
Amazing, amazing. And just sort of reflecting on the skill set of the CFO, there's been a lot of conversation in the last sort of day or two, and in community, to be honest, about leadership traits. And do you think it's an advantage for you to have that IT background in the sort of CFO space now? Because it does feel like a lot of CFOs, are not necessarily new to this, but haven't had that rich experience of what it's like to be in IT, and make transformation sort of happen.
I love this question, Chris, because if you asked me this about 5 or 10 years ago, I would have said no. So when you see all these degrees that I got after my MBA, I went and got a master in finances because I felt like when you compare my career with one of my peer would have another 6 years of finance, and my first 6 years were in IT. So I thought if I put one more degree, I'll give myself more credibility. But in reality, technology is at the background of everything we do. So slowly, slowly, especially with this boom of AI, companies started realizing how important it is, to have someone in every field, not only finance, but even if you have a marketer that understands technology, right? And digital, it's super important. So I just realized, in the past 5 to 7 years, that actually having that IT background that I just wanted to throw in the trash at one point, it's such an advantage. So I would say one learning for me in life is anything you do that's an investment in yourself and then you learn, do it because it will serve you well somehow down the path.
Brilliant, brilliant. And yeah, going back to my own experiences in Romania, like I have actually said it already in the summit, but I saw more business partnering happening in shared service centers that were sort of away from the core business, where there was finance and IT working together. I saw more finance business partnering happening there than I did in the corporate head offices where people were probably called business partners. And I feel like it's the sort of the progression of IT being more important to every role. There's almost like a huge amount of resource that's hidden from the core business, and you've made that transition. But how many other people are there like you who could be super valuable in the business side of life who are now sat in IT?
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant question, and it's a question that I've been trying to decode for a while because what I realized in the finance department, we are missing these IT people. So the question was, do you take IT people and teach them finance, or do you take finance people and teach them IT?
Yeah.
So which one will give you the quickest and the best return on investment, right? I have my opinion, which I think we can take finance people and teach them IT. But I think the other way it's possible too. Indian actually, I took an IT person and taught him finance, and having him sit in the team with the finance, right, in the same area, was the most, exactly as you said about your partnership that you saw in Romania, was the most valuable because he hears what our challenges are, the discussions. He could be, just immersed into the day-to-day life of finance, and he was able to literally create so many automated reporting and so many ways of looking at the data that we in finance would not have been able to unless I took my job and made it pretty much a coding job. So this is super valuable. And I think it's the same with every department. We should welcome IT into our teams and to sit with our teams.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I actually remember talking to a Romanian data scientist, and it's as if I planned this, but he said to me, "Let me come and sit with you during your sort of reporting, your financial reporting." And I remember this light bulb moment for both of us when he was crawling over our month end reporting process, just saying, "You're doing this every month and you're creating this every month, and you're not creating a data set, you're not managing the data, you're not presenting, standard visualizations, business intelligence." So much confusion to him because none of this was repeatable. you know so much time was being wasted. And but on the other side, he said, look, I've done so many projects where I presented my findings really badly and it wasn't communicated in business words, and the whole data project was kind of lost because
Yes.
3 months worth of work was kind of lost in the interpretation and the communication. So I couldn't agree more that there's this really nice balance between IT and finance at the moment, which we should all encourage. I'm really conscious of time, and I haven't asked hardly any of the questions that we planned for. But I just want to talk specifically to you as a leader. Like, what gets you up in the morning? Why do you do what you do? As a leader, we have a huge amount of pressure. So, what is it that's the first thing you think about when you wake up and want to get to L'Oreal and do your work?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question that you have to look at it from different perspectives, right? Because we show up in the society with so many hats. So if I talk strictly leadership, for me, people are the most important because they are the ones that are there alive with you. It's not the data, it's the environment that you have and the ability to, I'm very thankful to where I am. And as I said, it happened a lot of hard work, but it also happened because people believe in me. They gave me those opportunities and they coach me and mentor me every day. And I made mistakes, a lot of mistakes along the way. And the fact that, they were forgiving and graciously, taking me on the right path and showing me why. And now that I'm in that position, I owe that back to the society. And I actually love seeing, especially at L'Oreal, because I've been there for 10 years, when we go to like one of the town halls and I see a lot of the people that work for me, but now they are recognized for being promoted or in big leadership positions, it gives you such a joy. So that's when you realize this is what life is about, what I leave behind. Now I get excited about looking at the sales report and seeing where the business is, but true satisfaction comes from affecting one more life in a way that actually it didn't cost you anything. It was just you showing up to work in the best version of yourself.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant. And look, I'm sure you're an inspiration to everyone that you work with. I can sort of sense the value that you bring. Who would be your hero? We talk a lot about heroes at Generation CFO. Who would be your hero?
That's such a good question. It's a hard one, but I'll tell you don't have one hero, have the mentors, the people that came into my life, and I would say the most humans ones, the ones that, and this is one of my ex bosses of L'Oreal, absolutely loved him. Um, he approached every meeting, every interaction first with a connection to the person. Second, with a sense of humor, right? We are not doing brain surgery. Let's just remove the pressure and get to business.
Yeah,
And that was what made him that humanity. It's what made him so approachable and such a joy to work for, and an ability to, to be able to be truthful who you are, and to want to talk to him from a perspective of opening the door to mentoring, and not having a fear of being judged, or fear of being to be wrong.
brilliant, brilliant. Well, great advice there. I'm conscious of time, so just one more question,
Yes.
just to finish with a bit of fun. Um, so we're going to wrap the show up. Think of your exit music. What music inspires you? What would you like to hear as you're walking off stage?
Oh my God. I am not a music connoisseur, and I'm going to tell you why. And this is applies to first part of my life. Completely doesn't exist when it comes to movies, TV shows, music, because we didn't have any in Romania. And then I come here and I'm trying to catch up with, you know, 14, 15 years that I missed.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say I do listen, so I'm not like, oh my God, I'm completely like, I do listen to music, really good music, or like a good beat. I like hip hop when I work out, but also I like podcasts and audiobooks. So yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have a better answer.
I'll take hip hop. That's fine. I was, raised in the 80s. So, yeah, the start of hip hop was very much part of my youth. I'll send you a playlist.
Amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, look, Joanna, it's been fantastic talking to you. Really interesting journey that you've been on. Thank you for being so
Thank
open
you.
and honest about your journey. I think, if we all could walk the talk the way that you are, be a bit more, IT in finance, I think that's a huge value add. I think we'll all be doing a pretty good job. So thanks again for being here today.
Thank you very much for having me. Feel free to share my information. I'm happy to, talk to anyone that was on this call about with my journey, or if they have any questions, advice, anything. And
And we,
thank
we
you very
didn't even
much.
get onto the personal branding and the psychology, did we? So you'll have to come back again.
I, I would be honored.
Lovely. Well, look, if you'd like to continue the conversation, then obviously we have our community and you can log in and you'll be automatically put onto the Summit group. And we have loads of things coming up in the next year. The big one that's coming up is obviously the awards in June in London. But until then, thanks very much. And I will see you on the next session. So take care. And thanks again, Yolanda.